So what is your semen retention level? In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 7 levels of this inverted pyramid right here, down from level -3 up to level 3. You'll be identifying where you fall on the spectrum and how to reach that next level of your evolution. Okay, so right at the very bottom of this pyramid, we have that of level -3, whereby you are addicted to pornography. You are addicted to busting nuts every single day by watching pixels on a screen. Now, if you find yourself into that position, I mean, I can definitely relate. I used to be there every single morning, every single night, busting a nut out, watching that porn, really feeling good about myself in the moment. But across time, it was just damaging every aspect of my mind, my body, and my life. I made a bunch of different videos on this, but porn is rewiring your brain. The social centers in your brain, which are wired to actually form a deep, loving, intimate, real connection with someone. And there's rewiring that area of your brain with these pixels on a screen, with associating pleasure with pixels on a screen. Now, if you're addicted to pornography, you have to let go of it. There's so much stuff out there in terms of what it's actually doing to your mind, to your body, to your life. I'm sure you've experienced it as well. And if you currently find yourself in a position where it's hard, where it's difficult, you keep relapsing, then you just have to exert the power of your will. Okay, there are no two ways about it. You have to really get clear on how this is holding you back from living up to who you are capable of living up as, and really get clear on those reasons, really get clear on why you have to stop. And that is really the only way, because your brain has become wired to favor this cheap dopamine thrill. And until you really use the power of your will to rewire it back to how it used to be, it will be impossible for you to live up to the capability that you have inside. Okay, so I made a bunch of different videos on this. I'll link out to them below. Now, on level -2 is when you let go of pornography, but you are still addicted to choking Charlie till he chokes, right? Choking Charlie till he chokes. Choking Charlie till he pukes. That's the one, right? So this is when you let go of pornography, but you are still busting a nut every single day. I definitely went to that level. Once I let go of pornography, I was still masturbating, using my imagination, still trapped in the level of guilt and shame, going through the motions. I knew that there was a missing link. I knew that there was a leak in how I was showing up, but I was still attached to that dopamine thrill, right? So understand that what determines your level of evolution, what determines your level of consciousness, is where you get your pleasure from, right? If you look at the chakra system right over here, then you can see that right at the lower levels, we have the root chakra, we have the sacral chakra, right? When we are getting our pleasure from there, like for example, if you're addicted to porn, if you're addicted to masturbation, any sort of addiction, more often than not, is actually rooted back in trauma. When you engage in this habit, when you engage in going for that cheap dopamine thrill, it's really when you are trying to avoid, suppress, repress the emotion that you feel before it, right? You might be feeling lonely, you might be feeling like you're not enough, you might be feeling this discomfort right before actually engaging in that habit, and that discomfort becomes a trigger for you to go ahead into that habit again and again and again. And until you get to the root behind why you feel the way that you do, then you will continue to address the symptoms and address that cheap thrill, which might mask that discomfort for the moment, but over the long term, like the more you suppress it, eventually it'll get to the point where it'll be in your face and you'll be unable to suppress it no matter what, right? So it's better to kill the monster while it's small, really get to the core of why you feel the way that you do. And more often than not, when we are watching porn, when we are busting nuts, it's to avoid that feeling of discomfort. So better than avoiding it, better than masking the symptoms, just get to the root, get to the core, ask yourself why you feel the way that you do. And more often than not, it's either unaddressed trauma, unresolved trauma from the past, or it's because you are not clear, you're not certain on what you are here to do, you're not clear on your path, you're not clear on who you are not clear on what you stand for, okay? All of these addictions tend to be a cover-up, they tend to be a cop-out, they tend to be an escape from the reality of what you're dealing with right now, okay? So get to the root before addressing the symptoms, okay? Now, level -1 is whereby you let go of porn, you might let go of masturbation, but you are still addicted to sex. Okay, you are still busting your nuts. You might be chasing girls. I've definitely been in that situation whereby I was just chasing girls all the time, morning to night, in the morning, going out, day game, right? I used to be in that pickup artist world, just going out every single day, going out every single night, being on Tinder like when I'm not, right? Just the entirety of my focus was down to how I could get some girls, right? But that again was an escape from why I was doing that. And really, when for me personally, when I got to the root of why I was actually doing that, why was I seeking all of this validation, why was I just chasing that next girl and the next girl and the next girl, at the end of the day, it was to make up for this void that I felt inside of me, right? I felt empty inside, and I thought that getting something from the outside, getting validation from these girls was going to help fill that void. But all it did is that it made that void deeper and deeper and deeper. And of course, I was still letting go of my life force energy. I was letting go of my ability, my creative energy to actually make a change in my life and getting to the core of why I was doing what I was doing, okay? Understand that the most important question is why. And your intention is everything, okay? Two people can be doing the same thing, but if their intention is different, then the result that they get will be totally different as well, all right? So really get clear on why you do what you do. If you are chasing girls, I suppose it's a phase that every one of us has to go through to really understand why we do it. And for me, it was just getting validation. And once I understood that that validation could not come from outside of me, that it could only come from inside of me, that is when we go to level number 0, which is NoFap. Okay, this is when you begin understanding the critical importance of retaining your life force energy, the critical importance of retaining your creative energy, so that you can in the end transmute it and create something outside of you, right? You can feel that your energy is on point when you go on NoFap. You can feel that you're able to show up more as yourself, and you are able to, again, rewire your brain back to its original factory setting. Now, I was at level 0 for a long time. I think it was like 186 days that I went NoFap. And that was the point where I began, okay, like when we look at the chakra system, right? When we are addicted to pornography, when we're addicted to the ejaculation, then we're really getting our pleasure from the lower two chakras, right? We're getting it from the root chakra, we are getting it from the sacral chakra. And when we get to the level of NoFap, we get to the level of the solar plexus chakra, which is associated with willpower. Even though our senses, our body is wired towards getting that cheap thrill of dopamine from sex, from ejaculation, we are able to exert the power of our will and do the right thing over the easy thing, right? So it's amazing that we are able to get to this level as well. But when I went to level 186, I was really vibrating at the level of anger. I had a lot of frustration with me. I was going through these nocturnal emissions as well. I was not transmuting that sexual energy within my body. I was putting it out, right? I was frustrated. I was expressing myself in ways that I wouldn't see myself in alignment with my values, right? I was judging people, I was angry, and the reason for that is because I did not know about how to transmute my sexual energy, right? I read Think and Grow Rich, I read Outwitting the Devil, I read Napoleon Hill's works on the importance of retaining the life force energy of sexual transmutation, being a principle behind success. I was started my YouTube channel, but I was frustrated, right? I was frustrated because I didn't understand how to actually transmute that sexual energy. Now that is when we get to level number 1, which is that of solo cultivation. And this is really when we begin to understand that there is a difference between ejaculation and orgasm, okay? Understand that ejaculation and orgasm are two separate biological processes. And this is when we first begin to understand what semen retention actually is. Because the Taoist masters, the tantric masters, right? They used to teach the emperors and the kings of the past how to actually practice this. This is why the kings and the emperors of the past, they used to have harems of women, right? I remember when I used to first got started on this, I was suffering from premature ejaculation, couldn't even last more than 5 minutes. And I'm like, how the heck are these kings and emperors able to entertain a whole harem? Well, the reason for this is because they were taught how to use semen retention to separate ejaculation from orgasm. And when you were able to do that, then you were able to transmute that sexual energy up through your sacrum, up through your spine, up through your head, and experience that transcendent experience without letting go of your life force energy, right? That is when we actually get to the level of semen retention, whereby we realize that there's a difference between ejaculation and orgasm, and we can experience that orgasm, which is really a heightened, altered state of consciousness, which is what actually opened the portal through which we came into this world as well, right? So it's such a powerful energy. And when we can learn to experience that energy without letting go of our semen, that is when we begin to tap into the power of semen retention. At the level of solo cultivation, it really starts over there, because it's so much harder to actually practice semen retention with a partner, because it's just the emotions are so much heightened and stuff like that. But that's why the Taoist masters actually recommend starting at the level of solo cultivation, okay? And this is when you get to the level when you let go of the lower emotions associated with sexuality, okay? Personally, I was brought up in a culture where there's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of lower emotions associated with the act of sexuality. But when we get to the level of semen retention, when we begin to understand the power of sex to actually elevate our consciousness, that is when we begin to see sex as a bridge towards spirituality, right? That's why in the Eastern traditions, they saw sexuality as a very potent vehicle to elevate their consciousness, to elevate their awareness, to elevate their ability to show up as more capable versions of themselves, right? That is when we get to the level of solo cultivation, whereby we literally are able to make love to ourselves. We get to the level of the heart chakra, whereby we develop a better relationship to ourselves. We are not going at it through the lens of trying to get that cheap thrill and just ejaculate and feel good and then pass out, right? That's at the lower levels of the chakra, the sacrum, the root chakra, whereby you're trapped in survival. You're trying to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling. Now you are actually able to make love to yourself quite literally and deepen the relationship that you have with yourself, right? And then level 2 of semen retention is whereby you begin to actually cultivate that sexual energy. You are able to have an orgasm while you are with someone, while you are with a partner, and you're able to transmute that sexual energy through the microcosmic orbit, as the Taoist masters would tell it, and really balance your masculine and feminine energies, right? And when you can actually begin to transmute that sexual energy and have that experience and really ride the wave of peak orgasms, right? It's like a peak, it's crazy, man. And you get to the top of it, and that is where you begin to have that transcendent experience in real, whereby, I've explained this before, it's basically like the division between subject and object disappears. You are at one with your partner, you are at one with the universe, you are at one with everything, and that is when sexuality becomes a bridge for enlightenment, for that realization that everything arises from the same source, that duality is just an illusion, that separation is just an illusion, and that we are actually all one, okay? That's level number 2, whereby you begin to actually master the art of separating orgasm from ejaculation, right? It's definitely easier said than done. It takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of time spent, right? That's why they call it sexual kung fu, because kung fu comes from 2 words meaning time spent, which means that you have to put in the time, you have to put in the hours to actually develop the skill. But once you get to that level, then sexuality just takes on a whole different meaning for you. You develop a way deeper bond. You are able to balance your masculine and feminine polarities within yourself, and you are able to experience that deeper, higher level of consciousness that comes when we are able to reach that level. Now, level 3 of semen retention is something I have not experienced myself, but it's the level of the Brahmacharya, right? Brahma means ultimate, Charya means path. So Brahmacharya is the path of the ultimate reality, God consciousness, whereby you are so in touch with your sensitivities, whereby you are able to experience orgasm without even doing anything, right? Now, this is something I'm speaking based on what I've heard from people and stuff that I've read online. I haven't experienced this myself, but at that level, you are so in touch and so in charge of your own energies that you're able to transmute them in any way that you want, right? Now, I haven't personally been able to reach that level, but apparently it does exist based on what I've read, you know. based on the scriptures, based on these monks in the earlier times who were really able to cultivate their energies to such a high level that they were able to tap into some superhuman abilities, which is something I'm unaware of right now. But really get clear on where you fall on the spectrum, how you can rise, because I think a lot of guys get trapped in thinking that NoFap and semen retention is the same thing, but that is because they think that orgasm and ejaculation is the same thing. But once we can tap into the power of orgasm to really experience those heightened states of consciousness, then we can integrate that into our everyday lives as well and show up as more powerful versions of ourselves, right? So those are the 7 levels from -3 to 3. Let me know in the comments below where you find yourself right now, and I'll do my best to help you elevate as well. But I hope that this has been valuable for you, and I will see you in the next video.